Hey guys, how's it going? Today's video is going to be the first in what I'm hoping will become a series on my channel. To explain the premise here, I'm 27 years old, and I've been reading since I was a kid. I've always been an avid bookworm, but I didn't really have that many friends that read, so most of the books I read were highly influenced from my parents. Mostly my dad, who reads adult fantasy and very war-heavy books, and my mom reads adult, like, thrillers. So I didn't really read that many children's books or books that were geared towards my age because my parents would just read a book, like it, and pass it down to me. And they were the ones that were buying my books. So I'm not saying I didn't read any children's books. You know, I read Roald Dahl, I read Harry Potter when I was 9 and it was coming out. I did read a lot of those books, but for the most part, the books I gravitated towards were definitely meant for adults. In elementary school, when everyone else was reading Chronicles of Narnia for the first time, I was reading Lord of the Rings. In middle school, when everyone was reading the Percy Jackson series, I just skipped over it, I guess. In high school, when everyone else was reading the Mortal Instruments series, I was reading The Wheel of Time. So I just kind of missed out on a lot of those. And I didn't realize until I joined BookTube and started connecting with more bookish people that, I don't know, I do feel like I kind of missed out. I see all these people talking about their favorite childhood series and books that were so integral to them growing up as a reader, and I can't relate. I didn't read so many of them. So lately I've been kind of going back and rereading those books, and I know that I'm not quite getting the same experience, but I'm at least kind of understanding where they're coming from, and I think that it's been really interesting reading these books for the first time as an adult because it's a different perspective and I'm seeing things that I may not have noticed if I had read them for the first time when I was the intended age. And there are so many books that I should have read by now and haven't, so that is what this series is gonna be. First, I would like to say some quick disclaimers. I am not saying that you can't read children's, middle grade, young adult books as an adult. That is not what I'm saying at all. You can read whatever the heck you want to read. Just because you're not a book's intended audience does not mean you're not allowed to read that book. So that is not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that I might have a different perspective than someone in the intended age range. Also, this isn't going to be just bashing childhood books or bad-mouthing authors, anything like that. It's not going to be a bunch of negativity. Obviously, if I didn't like a book, I'm going to explain why, but this isn't going to be like, you know, bashing or anything like that. It's going to be a discussion and kind of thinking about why I don't like things versus this book is trash and I hate it, the end. My final warning before I get into these is that there may be minor spoilers for the books because I'm going to be talking about the series as a whole. I'm not going to be going into specifics in the plot and I'm not going to give away any like big spoilers, but just through discussing the books there'll probably be some minor spoilers. So if you're one of the few people that hasn't read these books as well, just be mindful of that. This has been a long enough intro, so let's just get into the series that I will be talking about today, and that is the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I'm just going to be talking about the 6 books in the Mortal Instruments series and what I thought of them. And I didn't like them. I own the first 2 books in physical copies, but I read them all through audiobook. My library has the entire series on audiobook, and because I wasn't enjoying these books, I knew that the easiest way for me to get through them was the audiobooks, so that's what I did. I rated all of these books between a 4 out of 10 and the highest was a 6.5 out of 10. That's really not a bad rating. Like, it's a little bit over 3 stars on Goodreads on average. Honestly, if I wasn't such a completionist and needed to finish everything I started and also just kind of wanted to know what everyone else was talking about, I definitely don't think I would have finished the whole series. Let's just start off with the big one to get it out of the way first. I hated the characters. I'm sorry if you're one of the people that like them, but holy cow, were they ever annoying. By the end of the series, a couple of the side characters were starting to grow on me. I liked Magnus because he was funny. I ended up liking Alec because he was interesting. I kind of liked Isabel, depending on the circumstance. But Clary was so freaking annoying, I wanted to punch Jace in the face. Simon was useless. And I'm sorry if you love any of these characters, but I did not. They were just annoying, moody little teenagers. I think the biggest thing is that at this point in my life, I'm 27 years old. Thank you comment. And I'm just not in the mood to deal with teenagers anymore. And if you're a teenager, no offense to you, just the stereotypical teenager of just moodiness and complaining about everything and your parents and your love life, I'm not into it. I just don't care. I'm sorry. I'm over it. But like I said, I found all of the main characters incredibly annoying, and if I don't like the characters, I'm not going to enjoy the book. So that was a huge part for me that just really prevented me from getting into these books. On the same topic of that, holy cow, those love triangles. Like, just like many other people, I'm not a fan of love triangles to begin with. I'm not a romance person much anyways. I just really don't like love triangles. And this book had so many. Like, everybody was in a love triangle at one point, and honestly, all of them were pointless. You could clearly tell who the author was pushing you towards. You could obviously tell who the characters were going to end up with. So it just didn't matter. I didn't care. I'm not into teenage love. Like, I'm just not. You know, maybe if I was reading it at the time, it would be like, oh yeah, they're young and they know what they want, that's so inspiring. But now I'm looking at it as an adult at, you know, all the teenagers being like, no mom, I know we're gonna be together forever, I don't care what you think. And I'm like, shut up. I don't care what you think. You're 12 years old. Well, okay, not really. Not that teenagers can't know what love is, but the vast majority of them don't. They're just not developed enough yet, and they don't have enough experience yet. And that's not meant to be insulting anybody, just, I don't know, it just had me rolling my eyes most of the time, to be completely honest. Specifically, the problem I had was that the relationships were very foremost emphasized, which was annoying, but I get it. You know, when you're that age, it was very romance focused. You know, when you're a teenager, everybody's talking about who you're gonna date and blah 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 and blah 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 blah, and I get it, but this many years later as an adult, I just can't relate. The thing that I really didn't like is that every character had to end up with somebody. It just kind of emphasized the fact that you can't have a happy ending if you're still single, and I don't like that. And again, it's a YA book. The series was started, what, 12 years ago? So I get it. Looking back as an adult who is very comfortable being single, it seems like a little bit much. And it was just very excessive. Every single character had to have a romance, and that was like their defining trait, and they weren't happy and complete until they had a partner, and I would like to say a positive that I saw with the characters is I found the diversity of the cast and the representation was much better than I expected. Okay, what's the best way to word this? 10 years ago, for the most part, diverse books weren't popular and popular books weren't diverse, if that makes sense. But this book, even from book one, had gay and bi representation. There's lots of different body sizes and body shapes, and there's, you know, people of color, especially in the later books. So for a young adult book, for that time period, I thought it was pretty impressive. Another thing that, as an adult reading it, that I found very noticeable was how cheesy and cliche the writing was. Again, this was 10 years ago. Maybe these cliches weren't as cliche back then. And I know that Cassandra Clare has grown a lot as a writer, and I've read some of her newer books and definitely much better. But for the most part, this series, it was honestly distracting how many cliches were used and how many, you know, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, and even just like the phrasing and the way that some things were explained were just very, very, not immature, that's not the word I'm looking for. Young and cheesy, I guess, is the best way I can explain it. As far as the plot goes, I was not invested, and to be fair, this is because, like I said, I don't care about the characters, so I don't care about what they're doing. It just felt so long and drawn out, and I know that a lot of people loved these books, so of course it makes sense that she's going to make such a long series. Like, I don't fault her at all for that, but as someone who wasn't enjoying the books, it was very discouraging once I read a couple of them and realized how many more there were left. I think book 4 was my least favorite because it was so romance focused. Book 4 is basically just Jace being a whiny idiot and Clary being another whiny idiot and no one communicating and just everybody being moody, whiny teenagers. But to be fair, I did enjoy books 5 and 6 more. They were both 6 and 6.5 out of 10, I believe. So I did like those ones more. There was more like, there was other elements basically. There was so much more going on, and at that point I had grown to like some of the side characters, so it wasn't that bad. I wasn't miserable reading them, but book 4, very difficult. I came so close to DNFing it, and I don't DNF books, but I came so close. I think another thing that I really didn't like about the plot is that I don't like it when kids or teenagers are the only people in the entire book that are smart or skilled. Useless adults are just a really annoying trope for me, and because this book had so many adults, it was very obvious, I guess. Like, I understand in young adult and middle grade books, obviously the main characters are gonna be young adults or middle graders, so they do have to be a little bit maybe smarter or more skilled than average because they're the hero of the story for the most part. So the adults do kind of have to be toned down a little bit, but I found this was just so much, to the point that it was unbelievable. Like, how come these handful of teenagers are the only ones with any brains at all? And I do understand that these aren't typical teenagers, you know, they're trained fighters, even though Clare has only been training for like 5 seconds, but I'm ignoring that. So I do understand that they are going to be more skilled than the average teenager that, you know, you just find at your local high school, but because the adults were just so clueless and useless and everything had to rely on these teenagers and only these teenagers, too much for me. One thing that I definitely did enjoy though is the lore of the world. I really like magic and monsters, and especially the downworld part was really fun for me. I did enjoy that, and I liked how much history there was in the books and how all the different species, I guess, you know, interacted, and I liked all of that part. I almost liked some of the politics of it, but I found that a lot of the politics were very downplayed so that we could focus more on the romance of the teenagers, which I obviously didn't like. But all in all, I did enjoy the lore of the world, the world building, even though there wasn't so much world building because it's in our world for the most part, but you know what I mean. I did think that was pretty well done and definitely made the book more interesting, so points for that. So final closing thoughts. Did I enjoy these books? No. Do I think I would have enjoyed them more if I would have read them when I was the intended audience? I think I would have enjoyed them more, but honestly, I still don't think I would have really enjoyed them. I was never a big fan of love triangles or very relationship-focused books, so honestly, I really don't think that I would have loved them as much as everyone else did if I had read them when they first came out. But I definitely would have enjoyed them more because I think that I would have found the characters less annoying because I was in high school. I was surrounded by annoying teenagers. I was kind of desensitized to how annoying teenagers were. But am I happy that I read these books? Yes. Because now I can at least finally follow the conversation of all the people talking about this. I can finally watch one of Emma Book's videos without scratching my head through half of it because she always talks about this series. No shade to Emma, like I love that she talks about her favorite book all the time. All in all, these books were definitely not for me, but that's okay because they weren't written for me. They were written for people who like that kind of thing. And guess what? A ton of people like that kind of thing. And so many people loved these books. These books got so many people into reading, and for that, even though I didn't enjoy them at all, I am happy they exist because I think that these books really helped so many people become readers and enjoy reading. And honestly, that's the point of a book. Even if I don't like it, unless it's like very harmful or something along those lines, I am glad that books I don't like exist because there are people with different reading tastes than me. There are people at different points in their life than me. So all in all, Cassandra, Clare, thank you for writing these books. Sorry I didn't enjoy them, but keep writing. Also, I want to know what you guys think of these books. Have you read them? When did you read them? What your thoughts were? Do you agree or disagree with some of the points that I made? I would love to have a discussion about this, so feel free to comment down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button to let me know, and feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be making more videos on this topic in the future, so stay tuned for that. And also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter @Tebuggy. In the future, I'm probably going to be doing a poll so you can decide which is going to be the next books I read for this series. So definitely follow me on Twitter. So I hope to see you guys next time, and until then, have a great day. Bye!